Welcome to the apex of sports ownership, the Apex Athletic Collective.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 27 of Instigate Success, building an ABA franchise. Jake, in case you're new here, one of the co-owners of the Instigators. We'll be talking about a bunch of news today. We had a lot of stuff happen since the last time we had the stream. We'll cover all that and give a preview for our upcoming rematch this weekend. Case you didn't catch it last time or forgot, the last game we played was against the Indiana Lions, January 7th. The game last week, we had to postpone because of our opponent was not able to make it to the venue. I believe we're still working on getting a resolution to that to see if the game is canceled, and if that would be a forfeit, or whether we're going to reschedule that game and wind up making it up. But the last game we played, January 7th, 2 weeks ago, against the Indiana Legends, very tough game. We played very well, though, and Frosty got his first win as our interim coach. And Frosty, legal name Corey Kern, congratulations again on the first win. And that game was a rematch, or I guess kind of like a homecoming, in a way, game for one of the Legends players, Yoki Anderson, number 3 for the Legends. Started out the season as number 0 on the Instigators. So that was one of the coolest matchups we had in that game. We got to see him come back to the Clinton CRC, and the Instigators got the better end of that game. Yogi did have a slow first half. However, he came out in the second half and he made quite a few plays in the second half to help get the Legends back in the game and get in closer to the Instigators' lead. Ultimately, when it was all said and done, the Instigators walked away 135 to 115. That is our third win on the season. I believe that puts us at 3-6. Again, pending the results of last week, whether that's a forfeit or a reschedule, that possibly impact our schedule going forward. But for this week, we are sitting at 3-6. And we also had our player of the game, first time player of the week for Aubrey Patterson. He did amazing. If you watched the broadcast, whether you caught it live here on the Patreon or if you watched it on YouTube afterwards, we mentioned Aubrey several times in the broadcast. He just kind of had his way all day against the Legends. 35 points. He was tied for the leading scorer with AB. AB is a guy that we see week in, week out put up a crazy amount of points and stats overall, whether that's points, rebounds, blocks, and so forth. But Aubrey, by far his best game of the season, 35 points, very impressive, 9 rebounds and 2 assists, 1 rebound away from a double-double. Again, shout out and congratulations to Aubrey. Definitely earned that player of the game. That puts him up there with some of our other guys like AB, who's earned multiple. He's earned multiple player of the weeks. JoJo, as well, has earned the player of the week. However, Aubrey got the player of the week before Dylan has, and I know Spacely and I have talked about that in the past. One of these games, Dylan is going to wind up winning this player of the game. He's put out pretty good numbers just about every game. It's just he seems to get edged out by somebody every single week. This week, totally understandable though. Aubrey, 35 points, 9 rebounds, nearly a double-double, leading the team in scoring, and coming off the bench, a very impressive feat for him this week. And I teased this last week, and I'll tease it again this week, because he was so dominant in that last game. We have that partnership with Fan Controlled. If you're not familiar with that, download the Control app. It's managed by Fan Controlled Sports and Entertainment. You can go to fcse.xyz and it'll get you a direct link to that app. And it's both available on the App Store and the Play Store. And that app, every week before our games, we put picks in for the Instigators. So it'll be picks whether you think we'll win or not, the total points over unders, some players' statistics. And this week, again, I'm pushing so that we can get an Aubrey Patterson over under on points. I think I'm going to put that total around 12. So maybe like 12 and a half over under. So just keep an eye out for that if that's something you're interested in. And you can also play some games on that app. But I'll mention that app again a little bit later as we do a little bit of a throwback to our last time we played the Lions, who is our upcoming opponent this week. Next thing I have here, if you hadn't caught it, we actually had some very big news this past week. So I'll take this down for a moment here. It's some very big news on our social as well as our Patreon. Our Patreon subscribers got to see this first before everyone else. And then we had this posted all over our social, our Facebook, Twitter, I guess it's now X, Instagram, wherever you follow us, the Hoosier State Instigators or Hoosier State ABA for our social handles. We had some very big news, and I think the best way to do this is we'll play a short video that we did post. If you hadn't seen it, that way it'll give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. Big news. Here is the video. Yeah, so $10,000 opportunity to win that at the February 11th game. That is our last scheduled home game against the Illinois Bulldogs. I see Jason here in the chat. Looks like he would love a shot at that 10,000. Yeah, similar to Hotspot. And I know it seems like a very difficult task, and it definitely is. I've had some people question if that's possible. There has been people that hit this. If you go on YouTube, there's been similar contests, like actually the same exact type of contest, and there's other like $10,000 giveaway contests that they do at basketball games, and they have been done. So 24 seconds. You got to be pretty efficient with your shots, but it's definitely possible. So that's a lot of money to be completely honest for anybody that can make it out to that game. On that video, you did see there were a couple of different ways you can get some entries, and then we're going to be drawing one person from all the entries at that game, and we will pick them. The one person has 24 seconds, and they've got to hit all those shots. So yeah, layup, a free throw, three-pointer, and a half-court shot. Seconds. And I believe I have it down here. So the way to get those raffle entries, if you buy a ticket, you're guaranteed to have a raffle entry. If you buy it at the door, it's a one raffle entry. If you buy your tickets ahead of time online, if you scan that QR code at the end of the video, that video again is on our social media, so you can find it there as well. That'll get you two entries, so you get an additional entry in that raffle. And if you happen to be a season ticket holder, you can get 5 entries from that. or if you aren't a season ticket holder yet, you can buy season tickets and that'll get you 5 raffles as well. And then at the venue, when you're there, if you want to get additional raffle entries, you can buy an additional raffle entry for $2 at the concessions. So you go and get a hot dog or whatever, and I guess some chips is probably more realistic for what we have at the venue, and then get yourself a ticket there, or a ticket and additional entries. I do see, Jason, you're asking if there's a rebounder. I'm I believe we will have a rebounder. I don't want to say 100% because I don't think I'll be at the game, unfortunately, for that weekend. I'm double checking the calendar, but we'll have that worked out. I think we will. Again, that's not a 100% confirmation, but for 24 seconds, I'd be a little bit helpful. So yeah, that looks like that'll be a Sunday. So typically I can't make it out to the Sunday games, but I will be watching it through the Patreon here. But $10,000, that's pretty impressive. I know if you're on our Facebook page, I think one of our players, possibly AB, asked if he's eligible. Unfortunately, we do have it written into the rules. Current players are not eligible. So this will be a fan. One of our fans at the game, at the venue, live at the Clinton CRC, is going to have the opportunity to walk away with that $10,000. And if you've ever watched Semi Pro, we have it set up so you will get more than just a big fancy check that says $10,000 signed by us. You'll actually get $10,000. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to find a big check bank or a bank with a big check department, if you catch what I'm saying. So again, 24 seconds, one fan, one chance, one opportunity to win $10,000, layup, free throw, three-pointer, and a half-court shot. February 11th, and that's going to be Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Clinton CRC, our home venue. Again, that is our last scheduled home game. So that is not this week's game. It's a little bit less than a month out at this point, but that is our last scheduled home game. We have a home game this week, and then we go on the road for a couple of games, come back home on the 11th, and we look to finish out our season on the road as far as the schedule looks right now. Again, after last week's game, we're still looking at what is going to be determined with that. So we are figuring that out, whether that game counts as a forfeit for the Nashville Aces or whether we have to reschedule that game. But we'll keep you guys updated as soon as we get that resolved. That way, both the fans and our Patreon, all of our Patreon fans here, as well as our fans across the nation and the globe, have an idea of what happened with that game. And we had an issue with the scheduling last week. This week we had a little bit of an issue. Nothing like last week, though. The game's not canceled. We're still having this week's game. So if you saw this, kind of a last minute change. We went from the Saturday scheduled game, which would have been tomorrow. Now that game this week is pushed back till Sunday. We had a little bit of an issue scheduling with the refs, so we had to make sure we had refs at the game. That way we can count our game towards our ABA season. We try to make sure we follow all of the rules. Everything's to the book. When we play the games, we really try to run this as a professional organization, and to ensure that and make sure we had the refs available for that, we pushed the game back to Sunday. So it's still 3 p.m. Eastern time. So just 24-hour difference. Unfortunately for people like me, who were hoping to make it out till Saturday's game, again, if you followed this, I normally go to the Saturday games. Just with how my work schedule winds up being, it's a lot easier for me to go to a Saturday game. And Sunday games, I'm not going to be able to go to that. However, it gives other people a great opportunity to go to that. And it makes it so we don't have to cancel the game as we did last week. But if you can't make it out, join us on Patreon here. I'll be here as well as Spacely, and he'll be commentating the game as always as we face the Indiana Lions. They are the champions from last year. And let's take a quick look at this week's game. I got a little preview here, and I think we should be putting this on social in the upcoming days leading up to the game. So throwback to that first time we played the Lions, you did see there, this is our second matchup against the Lions. They won that first game 118 to 110, very close game, especially our first time playing the champions from last season, or the defending champions. Um, and that also marks an anniversary for the Hoosier State Instigators. Again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the stream. Figured I shout this out again. Uh, the first time we were featured in the Control app run by FCSE was actually our first game against the Lions. So I think we were coming off of a win. Believe it was our first win. That was against the Southland Saints, and we appeared on one of the streams that they host every Thursday. Myself and Frosty, Corey Kern, who at the time was the same. He was a founder and co-owner. Now he is our interim coach. So he now gets a chance to face the defending champions, not only as an owner, but also as a coach this time, which is going to be a very exciting opportunity. And this gives you a little bit of a preview as to what you can see if you download that control app. Again, fcse.xyz will get you a direct link to download that in whichever app store, Play Store that your phone would use, or mobile device. And these are like the picks you'll get: how many points will be scored in the game, who will win the game, and there's some player props over unders. And again, a little teaser. Believe we're going to have an Aubrey Patterson pick this week. 12.5 points, I believe, is what we're going to go with. So if he does anything like he did in the previous game, that is definitely free coins as far as that goes in that app. And this is a very old picture from the app, so it still has like the FCF logo in the top, and you can see the coins up there. I believe this is Spacely's profile. 97 coins. If you're on the app actively now, you know that some people have in the millions. So I don't, and I don't believe Spacely does either yet, but some of these people have already reached into the millions, and there's quite a few multi-millionaires as far as the coins go. Control is that other little thing on the right side of where the coins are. And then you got a little fan avatar there. And then now that you can play little mini games in the app, and there's like a golf game and a racing game, and that can be where you use that little fan avatar. And that's what you can use the coins for that you get when you vote on our picks, to get some merchandise for your fan avatar or to upgrade your car, clubs in the games. Again, we want to thank FCSE for allowing us to be on the app every week, as well as all of our other loyal sponsors, SDMC, the Gator Pit, and everybody else who has been involved, and especially our fans here at the Apex Collective, as well as the Hoosier State Instigators in our inaugural season. Again, look back at that last game, 110 to 118. That final score is actually a little bit further than what the game kind of was. It was kind of a back and forth game as we went. We were always within reach of the defending champions at the time. If you want that video I just played, the Lions are 11-1. At the time, they were undefeated. So coming off of the championship last year, still on a hot streak. undefeated going into that game, and they recently just suffered their first loss, and that was against the Ohio Kings. And we played the Ohio Kings 2 games back, I believe, since the last game got canceled. Before the Legends, we played the Ohio Kings. That was December 30th. And the Kings definitely balled out when we played them. They were really, really good team, very fast team, high scoring team. I believe that was the most points we allowed in the game this season was against the Kings, and that was also our interim coach Frosty's debut, taking over as the coach. Coming off of a win this time, let's see how Frosty does. See if he can continue and get our first win streak in Hoosier State Instigators history. If you've been following us throughout the season, our first 2 wins were both against the Southland Saints. They were not consecutive games. And then we just won the past game against the Lions. So this could be our first potential um, win streak, which would be awesome. And it would also be our first potential home winning streak as well. So a lot of opportunities here on the table for our instigators as we face the Lions. Um, and it's also kind of a rematch homecoming kind of game again for a couple of our guys. Both AB and Dylan were players for the Lions in the past. So I know they balled out last time when we played the Lions. Again, AB and Dylan always put up crazy points. If you go over to the Gator Pit, the Adventure Beer Company, they have their own drinks there. The double triple double, named after their abilities to put up triple doubles and stuff the stat sheet week in and week out. And that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Again, the Lions are coming off of a very hot season, and they're looking to continue to defend their reigning championship. And we'll go more into the playoff race as we get a little bit closer. I know myself that I am not 100% fluent with the playoffs scenarios and the way the playoffs work in the ABA. So rather than mis-explain it, we'll go into that in a further detail once I get a little bit more acclimated with that. However, what I do believe happens in the ABA is that it's almost like a college tournament style bracket if I'm looking into it and remembering it correctly. So I believe all of the teams that wind up being playoff eligible, which I believe are most of the teams in each division, are going to go in a kind of like a bracket for each division. Um, yeah, I guess it very similar to like a divisional tournament within college basketball. And then your division champion will earn a playoff bid, and that playoff bid then goes into the bigger bracket. It's kind of like a March Madness esque bracket as far as I'm aware. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail as we go further into season. Again, as I get a little bit more fluent ABA style of playoffs. And it looks like the Lions' past couple of games, so their last game, they're coming off of a win against the Chicago Rebels. They won that game 111-98. So they're also coming off of a win this week. So a matchup of 2 teams coming off of wins. It'll be a very tough contest. See who wants it more. We also have a couple of new additions since that last game against the Lions. So we've got Zacharias Millhouse and Chris Wampler. So that'll also be another thing to keep an eye on is to see how that helps with our rotation. The Lions are definitely a team that we're going to have to make sure our players are fresh in that game. They can definitely get ahead and go on a big run, as we watched in the first game as well. And it looks like this game is our second game against the Lions, and we have a third game against the Lions. So if we wind up winning this game, our last scheduled game of the season, February 25th. That is at the Lions as well. So we'll have a chance to see who is the champion of Indiana as well. So that's a cool little storyline to watch this week. In addition to our guys AB and Dylan going back up against the Lions, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be calling Indiana the Hoosier State in end of the season. If we can split this series with them with a win this week, that'll make that last game mean even more than it already did. And if you travel to Indiana, I just saw that it looks like the Indianapolis airport has added a basketball court there. They're hosting the NBA playoffs or NBA All-Star game. My apologies. The All-Star game for the NBA. So we'll have the like slam dunk contest, 3-point contest on Saturday night, and then they'll have the All-Star game on Sunday. I think that is next month, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's actually like almost exactly a month out from now, February 17th through and 18th. And that week, it looks like we have a game against the pros. So that's another thing to look out for. That's kind of cool. If you make it out to Indiana, fly into that airport, and you can also play basketball, I guess, now as you go out and travel to the Clinton CRC for this week's game against the Indiana Lions. Just a side note here, now that I'm looking at the schedule, 3 p.m. on Sunday, I believe, and I will double check this real quick. That's actually an unfortunate time for myself because I believe that is going to be the time that the Buccaneers, and yeah, it is. It is the time that the Buccaneers take on the Detroit Lions, one of the most anticipated NFL matchups in the playoffs here. If you haven't already known, I mentioned this in a couple streams in the past. I'm a Buccaneers fan, so I'm from Pennsylvania. However, I always grew up a Buccaneers fan. I thought the pirate ship was real cool. And this week, I had the amazing opportunity to drive out to the playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was an amazing experience. That's the second game I had the chance to drive out to. I live in Daytona, so it's like 120 miles, but it takes like 4 hours with all the traffic. Tampa is kind of crazy with the traffic. Um, but great game to go out to. But yeah, that looks like that will be the same time as the Instigators game. So hopefully we can get a double victory, have an Instigators and a Buccaneers win for myself this weekend at the same time. That would be pretty sweet. But I did see that game. It's in Detroit, and it's got the highest average ticket price for any NFL playoff game, like I believe in history, aside from a Super Bowl. As far as this goes into the playoffs, the average ticket price is over $1,000, if I'm not mistaken. I know I looked just for fun to see how much the tickets were. The lowest I could find was like mid 700s. However, if you're going out to the Clinton CRC, no worries. Our tickets are nowhere near those prices. You can grab yourself some tickets at a much affordable rate, much more affordable rate. We have our adult tickets for $10. So that would be the most expensive ticket you're going to run into as far as the Clinton CRC, $10 a ticket. And again, you can go out and buy your tickets in advance on our website. That's apexofsports.com. And on our website, we have a bunch of cool stuff for you guys to check out. I know we've been trying to update it a little bit more frequently, getting some more information as far as our players. And again, we have ways for people to get involved if anybody wants to volunteer, as well as we have some internship programs available. That's all on our website. You can always go on apexofsports.com and learn more about that, as well as our shop's ticket. And if you have anybody that's interested, sponsor. That is all there. And a little reminder with that $10,000 entry, $10,000 giveaway, if you're planning on going to that game and you have that already scheduled out, I highly advise you get those tickets online. You'll get an additional entry into that raffle. We'll jump back to that screen just so we can go on that. Additional entry if you get the tickets online. That's 2 raffle entries. Keep in mind, every raffle entry is going to help because we're going to be drawing just one person. One person's going to have one shot in 24 seconds, not one shot. They're going to have one shot at 24 seconds, and they have to make multiple shots, uh, layup, free throw, 3-pointer, and half court shot. That again is our big news of the week. We've been anticipating this announcement for a couple of weeks now. We just had to make sure we got everything set in place before we could announce that. But we're very excited for this opportunity. $10,000 is a lot of money. It can make, honestly, that can be a life-changing amount of money for somebody to win. So if you're a Clinton, or if you can make a trip out to Clinton, it gives you almost a month out to make that trip now. It's definitely worth it. Even if you're not selected as the fan to shoot the $10,000 giveaway, you get to take in the last Hoosier State Instigators home game of the season, as far as we have scheduled currently. Um, and that is a pretty unique experience. I know I've talked about it in the past as well as Spacely. It's a very inviting venue. It's kind of got like an older, historic type of vibe, brick building, um, and it's just amazing. As soon as you step in there, I know I talk about this. I had a little bit of trouble finding parking. There's actually so many people at that first game, and I got helped to find a spot by Spacely. He kind of ushered me in. He like a valet driver. However, I was the one driving. But you step into that venue, amazing venue, super loud crowd. Every time I've been there, it has been just like a dynamic experience. The one week, it was actually the fans got so involved. We had a ref mention something during one of the breaks, and he told our fans, keep it down just a little bit. He was trying to make sure we kept on top of the game. But that's just how passionate our fans are, and we thank them for that. Every game that we have at the Clinton CRC, amazing experience. Highly recommend the chance to go out there if you do have the opportunity to. As we look to wrap up our home games in the season, again, this game against the Lions will be our second to last home game, and we're already past the halfway point in the season. We're sitting at 3-6 right now, still looking at a shot, as far as I'm aware, with the playoffs. Again, we'll go into that a little bit more detail in the upcoming streams. As we get closer to the playoffs. Again, this week, the 21st, it's Sunday. We changed that in case you're looking at one of our old graphics. It's not Saturday, it's not tomorrow, Sunday at 3 p.m. You can join us at the Clinton CRC or live here on the Patreon at 3 p.m. Catch your Hoosier State Instigators take on the Lions. And then next week after that, we'll be going against on Sunday against the Legends. So that will be a nice matchup for us to see if we can kind of double down on our wins already that we have this season. I know our first 2 wins were against the same team, so it was the Southland Saints, both home and away. We won those games. And then we won our last game that we played, which was against the Legends. And that will be our next game again after this game against the Lions. That's going to be away at the Legends venue. Then we face the Kings on the road. Again, the Kings are a very dominant team. We saw that firsthand a couple weeks ago as they took us down in the highest scoring game as far as the opponent goes in the Instigators season so far. And they actually took down the defending champion Indiana Lions. They are the only team so far that has given the Lions a loss. Again, that's going to be a team to keep an eye on as we go out and finish out our season. Then our homecoming game, our final game, that's going to be at home February 11th. Date to remember, $10,000 chance to win. You hit those shots in 24 seconds. Got the Illinois Bulldogs. Two more games after that, both away games, 17th and 25th of February. Louisville Pros, and then we wrap up the season again with a matchup against the Lions. So lots to look forward to as we get nearer to the end of the season. Currently sitting at 3-6. If we can win this week's game, we actually are sitting at a pretty good chance to finish up the season and possibly get ourselves into maybe a 500 season, maybe a little bit better, maybe almost a 500 season. However, we definitely have seen our team grow as a unit, and I'm hoping we can carry that over into this week's game. Our game against the Legends, that was our most dominant game as far as I can remember. We had great rotation. Everybody seemed to be passing the ball. We had several guys with over 5 assists. I believe we had a couple of guys with 7 and even 8 assists. Believe one of them might not have even been listed on our player of the weeks. But I know we had JoJo up there. He had 6 steals in the past game. Again, that's a very impressive stat. Hopefully, we can continue that defensive effort against the Lions. We also had Dylan up there. I think he had 7 assists, if I'm remembering correctly, in that past game. So when you're sharing the ball that much, it shows just kind of cohesive that unit is. With Aubrey coming off of the bench, 35 points. That is, that bench points really does kind of decide a lot of these games as we go throughout the season. It seems like whoever's got fresher legs has been a very big factor in all of these games. And we saw that in our game against, I believe it was Rose, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, or yeah, it was the Louisville Pros. That was the game that we went into overtime. That 98-102 game. That was our lowest scoring game. However, we were down quite a few players, and that really showed the difference between having the guys to rotate in and out, even if we had some of our best players playing the whole entire. Much better rotation as far as I'm concerned. In our last game, we also got a couple new additions. Again, that helps with that. And against the Lions, we're definitely going to need that. So 3-6. However, we're looking to go 4-6 after this week. Split the series with the Indiana Lions, and hopefully, then we can wrap it up in our final game and take home the rights to call Indiana the Hoosier State at the end of the year as we go into the playoffs. Hopefully, after we wrap that up. I think that is everything I had for this week's Instigate Success. Again, big news, and spread that news. Even if you can't make it out to that $10,000 giveaway, if you know anybody that could possibly make it out, we try to announce that in advance as much time as we could, so that way you can make some travel plans to make it out. We really want to see everybody that can possibly make it to come to that game against the Illinois Bulldogs for our last home game of the season, and have a shot at $10,000. And that's going to be a pretty electric thing to have on our stream, especially if somebody is able to pull that off. That might even make SportsCenter top 10 if somebody's able to do that, which would be pretty awesome. We're definitely hoping that happens. That would actually be awesome. Again, this week, not Saturday, not tomorrow. It's Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Catch your Hoosier State Instigators taking on the Indiana Lions. And as always, until next time, be great, instigate. And this has been Instigate Success, building an ABA franchise.